It's 3 a.m. Something wakes you up. You don't know what. The room is completely black. Not dim, not shadowy. Black. You can't see the ceiling. You can't see your own hand. And for a second, lying there, you have no idea where the edges of the room are or what might be standing in them. Now, you're an adult. You've slept in this room 1,000 times. The door is locked, the house is empty, and you know, with the full force of your rational adult brain, that there is nothing in here with you. So why is your heart already pounding? Why are your eyes straining at the dark, trying to turn a pile of laundry into a shoulder, a coat on a chair into a person? Why does some quiet part of you flatly refuse to believe the room is safe until your hand finds the switch, the light comes on, and you feel, instantly, a little bit stupid? Now here's the part you're going to argue with. You are not actually afraid of the dark. And I already know what you're thinking. Yes, I am. I literally just felt it. I felt it last night. Good. Hold on to that. Because you're right. You did feel something real. Your heart rate was real. That cold drop in your stomach was real. None of it was in your head. You're just wrong about what caused it. The dark didn't do that to you. The dark can't do anything to anyone. Something else flipped that switch inside you. Something a lot older and a lot stranger than a dark room. And it has been running in every human for longer than we've had language to describe it. So let me show you what you're actually afraid of. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. Let's clear one thing up first, because the whole video depends on it. The dark cannot hurt you. Darkness isn't a thing. It's the absence of a thing. It has no teeth and no weight. You could swing a sword around a pitch black room all night and never once hit the darkness, because there's nothing in there to hit. It's just the world with the lights off, which makes being scared of it sound kind of ridiculous when you say it out loud. You're frightened of an ordinary empty room being slightly harder to see than usual. Put like that, it's nothing. And yet, it isn't nothing, is it? The fear is real, and it shows up in people who absolutely know better. So if the dark itself can't touch you, and you're still afraid, then you were never really afraid of the dark. You're afraid of something else. The dark is just the switch. So what's on the other end of that switch? To find it, you have to stop picturing your locked bedroom and go a long way back, to a time when the dark genuinely could kill you. And that starts with the most uncomfortable fact about your own ancestors. Picture an early human. Go on, actually picture one. I'd bet money you just imagined someone holding a spear. Standing over a mammoth, maybe, or crouched at the edge of the tall grass. Dangerous. In control. The scariest thing in the landscape. That picture is mostly a lie. A flattering one. We love it because it puts us exactly where we like to imagine we've always been. At the top. For most of the time humans and our ancestors have existed, we were not the hunters. We were the hunted. There's a whole line of research built on this, sometimes called man the hunted, which argues that for most of our evolution, our ancestors were primarily prey rather than top predators, highly vulnerable because they lacked things like night vision and natural defenses. The short version is brutal. We weren't the apex thing stalking the savannah. We were a slow, soft, fairly easy meal that a lot of much scarier animals were happy to take. And look at what we were working with. No claws, no real fangs. We can't run fast, not by predator standards. We're not strong for our size. Our skin is thin and bare. And the one sense we built our whole bodies around, our eyesight, is tuned for daylight and goes nearly useless the moment the sun drops. Now think about who we shared the world with. Big cats, hyenas, snakes you wouldn't see until you'd already stepped on one. And here's the detail that changes everything. Most of the predators that threatened early humans did their hunting at night, and our poor night vision made the dark genuinely dangerous. Their eyes were built for it. Ours weren't. So every single evening, the world quietly changed hands. During the day, with our group and our daylight eyes and our tools, we could hold our own. But when the light drained out of the sky, the advantage flipped completely over to the things that wanted to eat us. So for your ancestors, darkness was not a mood. It was not cozy. It was the most dangerous part of the day, arriving on schedule every day for hundreds of thousands of years. Night meant you were blind and they weren't. Night meant the hunters were awake and you were on the menu. And the humans who shrugged that off, the relaxed ones who wandered around in the dark, unbothered, curious about that noise in the bushes, they tended not to last long. They got quietly removed from the gene pool, usually in a single bite. The ones who survived to become your great, great, and so on grandparents were the nervous ones, the ones who felt that cold drop when the light died, got near the fire, and stayed alert until morning. That's who you come from. Every single one of your ancestors was scared of the dark. Not one of them was the brave caveman who strolled off into the black to investigate the sound. That guy is nobody's ancestor. He didn't make it. So the fear you feel at 3 a.m. isn't a flaw, and it isn't weakness. It's an inheritance. It's the exact instinct that kept your bloodline alive long enough to produce you, lying safely in a locked house, annoyed at yourself for being scared of an empty room. Which leaves one obvious question. If the danger is long gone, why is the fear still switched on? To answer that, we have to stop talking about your ancestors and start talking about what is physically happening inside your body the second the lights go out. And that is where this gets genuinely weird. It starts with the one thing your whole body is built around: your eyes. You are a daytime animal. Out of all your senses, sight is the one you lean on hardest, the one you trust without thinking, the one that tells you where you are and whether you're safe. You read faces with it, you spot movement with it, you navigate almost your entire life through it. Strip it away and you don't lose a little comfort. You lose the sense you depend on more than any other. And here's the cruel part. Our ancestors evolved as diurnal creatures, daytime animals that relied on color vision, which works best in bright daylight. We went all in on seeing the world in sharp, full color under the sun. It's a fantastic deal, right up until the sun goes down. Then that same finely tuned daytime equipment turns nearly useless, and you're left standing in the dark with the one sense you trust most switched off. Now think about what you were standing in the dark with. The animals that hunted us didn't go blind at night. They went to work. Big cats, wolves, the things that treated early humans as a meal, a lot of them came alive after dark, and their eyes were built for it in a way yours will never be. Cats, dogs, and other predators have a reflective layer at the back of the eye that improves their night vision and makes it easier to track prey in low light. It's called the tapetum lucidum, and it works like a mirror. Light enters the eye, some of it misses the photoreceptors, and instead of being lost, it bounces off that mirror and gets a second pass through the retina. Every faint scrap of light used twice. That mirror is the thing you've actually seen your whole life without knowing what it was. When you shine a light into the dark and a pair of eyes glows back at you, that eerie shine is the tapetum lucidum reflecting the light back out. Those glowing eyes in the dark, the ones in every horror movie, the ones you've caught in your headlights, are not a special effect. They are a predator's night vision pointed straight at you, lit up for half a second. And you? Humans don't have it. Without fire or electric light, we are genuinely bad at seeing in the dark. Where those animals have a mirror behind the retina, we have dark cells that soak light up instead of reflecting it. Your eyes were never designed to give you a second chance in the dark. They were designed to be brilliant in daylight and then quietly hand the night over to something better equipped. Sit with what that meant for your ancestors. Every evening, on a fixed schedule, the world changed owners. While the sun was up, with your group, your tools, and your sharp daylight eyes, you could hold your ground. The moment it set, the balance tipped completely to the things with the mirrors in their skulls. They could see you, you could not see them. For a couple million years, that was the deal, every single night. So when you sit in a dark room now and feel that low prickle of being exposed, that isn't paranoia, and it isn't your imagination acting up. It's an accurate readout of a situation your body has been in countless times before. The dark didn't put a monster in the room. It just did the one thing it has always done. It blinded you, while leaving the unsettling possibility that something nearby is not blind at all. That's the real reason the dark feels dangerous. Not because of what's in it, but because of what it does to you the second it arrives. It takes your best weapon and hands it to the other side. But losing your sight is only the first move, because the instant your eyes go dark, the rest of your brain does something strange to compensate, and it's the reason a single small sound at 2 a.m. can put your whole body on a war footing. Your eyes are down, so your brain switches strategy. If it can't see the danger, it will listen for it. And here's where people get this wrong. They assume your hearing actually sharpens in the dark, like the loss of one sense powers up another. That's not really what's happening. The sounds were always there. The hum of the fridge, the house settling, the pipe ticking, the faint creak of a floorboard adjusting to the temperature. All of it is going on at noon, too. You just never notice, because in daylight, your brain runs a filter. It glances around, sees that everything is fine, and quietly throws those sounds in the bin before they ever reach you. In the dark, that filter comes off. With no visual all clear, your brain stops dismissing sounds and starts interrogating them. Every creak now gets a question attached. What was that? Where did it come from? Is it moving? The exact same noise that was background static at lunch becomes, at 2 a.m., a data point your survival system feels it has to resolve before you're allowed to relax. The room didn't get louder, your brain just stopped ignoring it. And it does this for a cold, specific reason. For your ancestors, mistaking a harmless sound for a threat, a false alarm, was far less costly than missing a real danger. Think about that trade from evolution's point of view. The human who heard a twig snap and flinched for nothing lost a few seconds and a jolt of adrenaline. Annoying, harmless. The human who heard the same snap, decided it was probably nothing, and rolled over, occasionally turned out to be wrong, and being wrong once was fatal. There was no second mistake to learn from. So those two errors were never weighted equally, and your brain was never built to treat them equally. It was built to round up, to assume the worst about every ambiguous sound, because 1,000 false alarms cost you almost nothing, and one missed alarm cost you everything. You are descended from the people who jumped at shadows. The calm ones who correctly figured out it was just the wind, most of the time, are not your ancestors. Because all it took was being right about the wind 99 times and wrong about the lion once. That's why the dark feels so full. It isn't full. Your threat system has just switched from innocent until proven guilty to the opposite. And it's now treating every sound as a suspect until something proves otherwise. And when your brain has a sound but no picture to go with it, It does something even stranger. It supplies the picture itself. This is why the pile of laundry becomes a crouching shape, and the coat on the chair grows a pair of shoulders. Your mind is taking the vague, shapeless input from the dark and forcing it into the most important pattern it knows how to recognize, the outline of something that might be alive. It would much rather sketch a predator that isn't there than risk overlooking one that is. The monster in the corner isn't a failure of your imagination. It's your imagination doing precisely the job it was hired for. None of this is your brain glitching. This is your brain working exactly as designed, running the oldest safety setting it has. In the dark, assume the worst, and make the lights prove you wrong. Which raises the obvious objection. You're an adult. You know better. So why can't you just override it? Why doesn't knowing the room is empty actually make the feelings stop? The answer is genuinely unsettling, and it comes down to which part of your brain is even allowed to make this call and how badly it beats the thinking part of you to the decision. Here's the real reason you can't talk yourself out of it. The fear isn't being run by the part of you that knows better. It's being run by something older, something that gets to decide before the thinking you has even been told there's a decision to make. Deep in your brain, there's a small structure called the amygdala. Think of it as the threat alarm. Its entire job is to scan everything coming in through your senses and scream if anything looks dangerous. It is fast, it is blunt, and it does not wait for permission. It's also one of the oldest parts of the mammalian brain. It was up and running long before the neocortex, the wrinkled outer layer that handles language, planning, and reason, ever evolved. The alarm is older than thought itself. Now, when a signal comes in, say a sound in a dark room, it doesn't take one path through your brain, it takes two. One is a fast, direct route straight to the amygdala, the threat alarm, which the neuroscientist Joseph Ledoux called the low road. A signal can reach the amygdala along it in roughly 12 milliseconds. The other route is the slow, scenic one. It runs the same signal up through your conscious reasoning brain, the part that can actually identify what the sound was and decide whether it matters. But becoming consciously aware of something takes far longer, on the order of 250 to 300 milliseconds. Do the math on that gap. The alarm fires about 20 times faster than the thought. So picture the actual sequence in that dark room. A floorboard creaks. In about 12 milliseconds, before you have any idea what you heard, the alarm has already gone off. Your heart rate is climbing. Your muscles are loading. Adrenaline is already moving. Only a quarter of a second later, an eternity by comparison, does the slow, smart part of your brain finally arrive, look around, and go, "Relax, it's the house. It's fine. There's nothing there." But notice what that means. By the time the rational, knows better part of you shows up to deliver the all clear, the fear has already happened. It didn't ask your opinion. It went off, completed, before you were even conscious of the thing that set it off. Your thinking mind isn't the one making this call. It's the cleanup crew, arriving after the alarm, trying to explain a reaction your body already committed to. This is exactly why knowing the room is empty doesn't switch the feeling off. Your knowledge is running on the slow road. The fear is running on the fast one. You are trying to win a race you start a fifth of a second behind every single time, and you will lose the first moment of it on every single try. You can't outthink the dark, because the part of you that does the thinking is always second through the door. And it's also, quietly, why the light fixes everything. When you finally hit the switch, you flood the slow road with information. Suddenly, your reasoning brain can see the whole room. confirm there's nothing there, and send the signal that shuts the alarm down. That wave of relief and that little stab of feeling stupid is the sensation of your smart, modern brain finally catching up and overruling the ancient one. You didn't stop being afraid because you reasoned with the fear. You stopped because you gave your eyes enough light to file the report. So no, you're not weak for not being able to think your way calm in the dark. You're fighting a system that is built to ignore your thoughts on purpose. Because for most of human history, the humans who paused to reason it out got eaten by the thing the alarm was warning them about. The fear was never supposed to wait for your opinion. Waiting got people killed. Which leads to one last clue, maybe the most telling one of all. If this fear really is built into the hardware, and not just something we pick up along the way, then we should be able to see it switched on in people who haven't lived long enough to learn anything yet. And we can. We see it in children. Nobody teaches a child to fear the dark. You don't sit a toddler down and explain about predators and night vision and the things that used to hunt us. You don't have to. The fear shows up on its own, fully formed, usually somewhere around age 2 or 3, right on schedule, in a child who has never been in any real danger in their life. One day the dark is nothing. The next, the bedroom door has to stay open. The hall light has to stay on. And there is something under the bed that absolutely was not there last week. And it is not rare. An estimated half of all children experience a fear of the dark. Half. This isn't a quirk of a few anxious kids. It's close to standard equipment for being a small human. Now think about why that timing is so suspicious. For almost the entire history of our species, a small child was the single most vulnerable member of the group. Too slow to run, too weak to fight, too little to do anything but make noise and wait for an adult to deal with whatever was coming. And the most dangerous hours for that child, by far, were the dark ones, when the group's daylight advantages were gone and the hunters were active. A young child wandering off into the dark, away from the fire and the adults, was about the easiest meal the night had to offer. So a fear of the dark that switches on hard in early childhood isn't a coincidence, and it almost certainly isn't learned. It looks a great deal like something installed, set to activate at exactly the age when a human being needed it most. The child who was terrified of the dark stayed close to the fire, close to the adults, close to safety, and was more likely to survive to grow up. The fearless toddler who happily toddled off into the black was playing a game with very long odds. Over enough generations, that fear became part of the standard build, handed to nearly every child whether the danger is still there or not. I want to be careful here, because this is the kind of claim that gets stated too confidently online. We can't run the experiment. Nobody can prove, beyond all doubt, that a 2-year-old's fear of the dark is a polished survival adaptation rather than something else. It's a strong, well-supported hypothesis, not a closed case. But look at what it explains. The age it appears, how common it is, why no one has to teach it, and why it targets the dark specifically, rather than, say, a fear of tall grass or open water. The fear arrives precisely where and when a defenseless young human was most likely to be taken. And here's the part that should land on you, the adult watching this. You never actually deleted it. You just turned the volume down. The intensity faded, sure. You stopped needing the hall light. You learned consciously that the dark is safe, and most nights that knowledge is enough to keep the old feeling quiet. But it didn't leave. It's the same instinct you had at 3 years old, still sitting there, still wired in, just usually outvoted by an adult brain that's gotten good at talking it down. Until one night, something wakes you at 3 a.m. The house is black. The rational part of you is still half asleep and slow to arrive. And for a few seconds, there's nothing holding the old fear back. And there it is again. Exactly the same fear. Same age, same wiring, same dark. You've just spent 20 or 30 years learning to manage it. So when your own kid calls out that there's something in the room, they're not being dramatic, and they're not broken. They're running the same software you shipped with. They just haven't learned to override it yet, the way you mostly have, on the good nights. So that's the whole shape of it. The fear is ancient, inherited, faster than thought, and installed in you before you could even talk. Which leaves one last problem, and it's a strange one. If it's all wired in that deep, and the lions that built it are long gone, then why are you still lying there, decades later, afraid of nothing at all? Let's be honest with each other for a second, because everything I've told you has a flip side. You are safe. Right now, tonight, in your dark room, you are about as safe as any human being has ever been. The door is locked. The predators that shake this fear are gone, hunted out of your world a long time ago, or sitting behind glass in a zoo. Statistically, the dark bedroom is one of the least dangerous places you will ever be. Nothing is coming. Nothing is under the bed. Your rational adult brain has been right the whole time. That's the strange truth at the center of all this. The fear is real. The wiring is real. The 12-millisecond alarm is real. And the threat it was built for no longer exists. You're carrying a fully functional alarm system for a war that ended thousands of years ago. It's a smoke detector, still screaming in a house that can't catch fire. The danger left. Nobody told the alarm. So it keeps doing the only thing it knows how to do, going off at every creak and every shadow, because the part of you that runs it was built in a world where ignoring the alarm even once meant you didn't get a second night. It would rather wake you 1,000 times for nothing than stay quiet the one time it mattered. By its own brutal logic, it's not malfunctioning. It's doing its job perfectly. It's just doing it in a world that moved on without it. But here's what makes us different, and it's the part nobody ever stops to notice. Every other prey animal on Earth just accepted the dark. The deer, the rabbit, the mouse, every creature that ever feared the night made the same deal. When it gets dark, hide, freeze, and hope. Endure it until the sun comes back. For almost every animal that has ever lived, that was the only option. The night belonged to the hunters, and you waited it out. We didn't accept the deal. We are the only animal that ever looked at the dark and decided to fight it directly. We picked up fire and carried it into the night. Sit with how insane that actually was. A weak, slow, soft prey animal walked straight at the thing it feared most and pushed it back with a stick that was on fire. No other creature has ever done that. And once we'd done it once, we never stopped. The campfire became the torch. The torch became the candle, the lantern, the gas lamp. Then one day, someone ran lightning through a thin wire, and the bulb came on, and we lit the whole thing up. Streets, cities, whole countries you can now see glowing from space, smeared across the dark side of the planet in light. Look at what that actually is. The reason you can flip a switch and banish the dark from any room in under a second is that 100,000 years of frightened humans refused to stay prey. Every light in your house is a descendant of that first fire. The lamp on your nightstand, the glow under the bathroom door, the street light outside your window, the phone or screen you're staring at right now, All of it is the same ancient act, repeated and repeated and repeated. A prey animal saying no to the dark. We didn't cure the fear. You can't. It's too deep. It's older than language. What we did instead was build an entire civilization bright enough to keep it asleep. We didn't beat the instinct. We outran it, one light at a time, and we got so good at it that most nights you forget the fear is even there. And then, every so often, the lights go out. A power cut, a dead bulb, a moment at 3 a.m. before your hand finds the switch. The thing we spent 100,000 years burying gets a single gap, a few seconds of real darkness, and it wakes up instantly, right on time, exactly as strong as it ever was. The heart, the held breath, the eyes straining at a shape that isn't there. Underneath the wiring and the locks and the glow of the modern world, your body still remembers, perfectly, what it was like to be something's dinner. So no, you were never afraid of the dark. The dark is nothing. What you're afraid of is what you used to be the moment the light disappears. And the most human thing about you isn't that you feel that fear. It's that for 100,000 years, you have refused to live in it.